Welcome back to Counterculture. We've been doing something in the last few minutes that's a little counterculture-ish. That is really laughing and having a good time.
There will be no jocularity.
There's not a lot of people, Mark, in today's world that are having a good time.
You will not enjoy life.
That's exactly how most people feel. Right
I know.
Now. Like, hey, if you're enjoying life as a Christian, especially, there's something wrong with you, right?
You need to be baptized in vinegar.
We look at things and we look and we say, like, listen, to be a Christian means you're supposed to look a certain way, right? I want to read a little portion of 1 Samuel.
Parishon?
Right?
What is a parishon?
Because it's kind of like a parishioner.
Okay,
right?
It's a parishon.
I want to read about a parishioner. I want to read a portion about a parishioner. Right? Stories about...
Can I do it in my televangelist voice?
Okay.
A portion of the parishioner for them. Yes.
There you go.
There you go. Go ahead.
Whatever you give us today.
Right. There you go. Okay.
So there's a story in 1 Samuel chapter 1 about Hannah, right? We talk about Hannah, Mother's Day. People love to talk about Hannah. She's a wonderful
Her name
story.
is so cool. If you say it backwards, it's still
the same thing.
Yeah, it's
right.
great.
She's
it's
one
great.
of those lucky people.
Right.
But we look at the story of Hannah and we know that she wanted to have a child. Right.
Yes.
And her husband even went so far as to say, like, "Hey, aren't I worth more than any son?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, but I want a child." Right.
Sure. That's probably how she said it. Oh, okay. You're one of those trophy husbands.
Yeah. Right. Plus, you also have another wife, so like maybe not. But we're looking at the verses. I want to pick it up in verse 12. Right. She's praying, and she says, as she continued to pray before the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. I could stop right there and we could preach a sermon on that, but we're not going to.
Wait a minute. What verse again?
Verse 12 in chapter 1 of 1 Samuel.
Oh, of 1 Samuel. I'm just looking at 2. I'm like, that's about Eli's wicked sons. All right, I'm with you now. I'm picking up what you're laying down.
So Eli's watching Hannah's mouth, right? Hannah was speaking in her heart. Only her lips moved and her voice was not heard. Therefore, Eli took her to be a drunken woman. And Eli said to her, how long will you go on being drunk? So not only did he think it, but he was dumb enough to say it, right? And he said, put your wine away from you. But Hannah answered, no, my lord, I am a woman troubled in spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord. Do not regard your servant as a worthless woman. For all along I've been speaking out of my great anxiety and vexation, right? Then Eli answered, go in peace, and God of Israel grant your petition that you have made to him. And she said, let your servant find favor in your eyes. What a great moment, right? When I look at this moment, I see our culture all over the place. We're watching people's mouths move, right? And we're judging based on that, right? We're always looking at people and we're judging based on what we see, right? Part of being counterculture-ish, though, I think, is, listen, we may look at something, we may hear what's coming out of somebody's mouth, we may see stuff, but do we have the ability to refrain from what Eli said, right? Like, hey, why are you a drunken woman? Right? We're always jumping to conclusion about how God works, when he works, why he works, and all of these kind of things. And one of the questions that I have for you is, part of being counterculture. This is a hard day today because you have
easy for you to say.
Part of being counterculture is this concept right here. We can't always look at things and just, for face value, just expound upon them whatever we want.
Well, sure we can. And we do.
We do.
Are we done here now?
Yeah.
Okay, we're done.
There we go. We just ruined the whole episode.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can.
No, you're wrong, Andy.
We do it all the time.
There we go.
Yeah, we do it all the time, which is part of the problem.
If we want to be counter that, what do we do? How do we look at things and say, you know what, I see what this looks like. Right? We've been talking about some issues this morning, where it's really easy to just judge. Really easy to just look at it, go, yep, you're right, you're wrong, boom.
Yeah, right.
But that's not how God wants us to look at our culture. He doesn't want us to look at people and just say, oh, you're just drunk. You're just worthless, right? I love what her wording there was. No, my Lord, I am a woman with troubled spirit. Do not regard me as a what? Do not regard your servant as a worthless woman. How often in our culture are we regarding people as being worthless because of what we see?
And we're talk about profiling. Talk about profiling.
Yeah.
Which, of course, no one wants to be profiled, which is what you're talking about. He's
right.
profiling her. He's making a judgment off of something that he doesn't fully understand.
Right.
Which is very interesting, because one of the things that has come up that I've heard in the last year about the racist stuff was, when was the last time, a white person sat down to hear a black person's perspective? Well, here's my question. When was the last time a black person invited me in to hear their story?
Yeah.
But how about that for any of us? Every one of us has a story. Every one of us has a past. Every one of us has something in our story that we are not proud of, that we wish we would have done differently.
Exactly. We have a lot of conjecture.
And so what if we said, here's the sad part about this story, and this is something that I've had to learn, and I still have to remind myself of. When I see someone, I think I've mentioned this, when I see someone, I experience someone mistreating me, judging me or whatever, being mean, whatever you want to call it, it may not be about me. It may not be about, matter of fact, it probably is not about me. There might be something that I'm doing that is triggering them, whatever the case is, okay? But here's the question I try to ask myself when I see someone acting out. And they say this about kids. Little kids having a tantrum, it's because they don't know how to express what the real need is, the fear, whatever it is. But we quit doing that as adults.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have not been equipped and trained how to express what is going on inside of us.
Yeah.
And so we'll lash out. It happens all the time in marriages. It's happened in mine. Okay, and it still does on occasion. And what we have, here's what I'm learning how to do. What has wounded them so badly that this is how they have to act? Anger is a secondary emotion. You just don't get angry.
Right.
Behind it, and I think it was Dan Croy, I heard him say this at a pastor's conference or church growth conference, something like that. Doesn't matter. Behind anger is fear, hurt, or frustration. Yeah. And frustration being the word we use when we don't know how to explain what's going on. So if when I get angry, I have to ask myself, what is going on? Once I can step back from it, then I say, what is going on? I'm afraid of something. I'm afraid of out of control. I'm afraid this person is going to hurt me. Whatever. Hurt. They've touched on something that hurts, that has been a wound in my own life, or I'm just frustrated, which is I don't know what this is yet, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I may need to come and say, Andy, here I got really angry about this. I said some things I shouldn't have said. Whatever the deal is. So, how sad, and we pastors are guilty of it. Well, they're just a sinful person. They're just okay. So I need to go and say, wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
Let's help. How and maybe old Samuel didn't know better, and he just he's used to, well, yep, this is I had this. Maybe he's doing it through his own filter.
Yeah. Well, again, we look at this story and say, well, really, where is the line between somebody being drunk and somebody being so sorrowful, so just in need of the Holy Spirit that they're acting the same way?
Yeah.
Right. So again, it's not our job to figure out necessarily all the ins and outs. It's our job to come up alongside what God is doing.
Yes.
Right. And I think that that's important, because certainly there are some. What are there? I love those three things. I think I would add some sort of disappointment, can get us there as well. Right. Disappointment gets me angry.
Yes.
As I look at a situation, if I'm a priest and I look at a woman in my place, and it looks like she's drunk, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say these kind of things,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But there's a real crying out here for the Lord on her part. And I think, there are times when we look at a situation and we're just so quick to disqualify somebody,
Yes.
right? Rather than to say, could God work this way? Is it possible that this person really is crying out to the Lord this way, that they really are seeking the Lord?
Pouring out their soul.
That's right.
I would argue, and I'm going to be preaching on this Sunday,
Fantastic.
this is travail. We don't use that word today. It is travail, and I believe another way it is like the pains of childbirth. You are just so agonizing before the Lord over something, and that's what is pouring out your spirit, your soul over God. And it's we talk about what have you prayed about. Here's the thing: maybe we need more travail in our cultures, not more of Samuel here. More Hannahs who will pour out their souls to God about the things that are breaking their hearts and their spirits and this and just God, this that was Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was travailing.
I think often, like Hannah in this case, there's this question as to whether God really knows how we feel. Does God know really where we are? Does God know that every single time she came to do this, she was reminded that she didn't have a child, right? Year after year, it says that she was reminded of this. And I think in a lot of our lives, that's what happens. There's constant moments where we're reminded what we don't have, reminded of who we're not, who we've been, all of those kind of things. And the damage that does, right, to people. And does it create within them this crying out to the Lord? Right? And I think that we're in a culture right now where are we just commentating on the culture? Or are we really crying out to the Lord to do something?
Yes.
Really, really change
And then
this.
are we open to when he says, yes, I will do something, I'm going to do it through you.
Yeah. So more people should say yes when I ask them about making videos.
I will not receive that shame.
You're not exactly who I was thinking.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
All right, let's wrap.
Because I took it personally.
I
Let's. I'm not drunk. I'm just pouring out my soul.
And I received that.
It's been one of those mornings.
Might be better if you
yes.
might be better if you stay away from the strong drink.
Okay.
So listen,
I do not take part in strong drink.
Mark's gonna.
Well,
he's
coffee. Does that count as strong drink?
I think you need.
When summer makes it, it's strong drink.
I think you need something when you're coming down here.
I think I do
for
too.
sure.
To put up with people that I'm grateful are not here.
That's right. Listen, we have tied in a whole bunch of things. If you're paying attention, if you watch every video on Trash Ministry,
It'll put the pieces together.
Right, you'll know exactly what we are talking about.
The ones where I'm in the
this
black
morning.
shirt.
Yes,
The ones because follow the ones in the black shirt
Follow the
because
black
I
shirt.
don't wear black very much.
That's exactly right.
I like
You do
bright
that.
colors.
You want to be countercultural.
I do.
Right.
I do.
Bright,
I do.
cheerful.
Yes.
Mark's made us laugh a lot down here this morning. We're really grateful for
Yes,
that. Hannah wasn't
that's my
laughing.
job. She was not.
She was very serious.
She was not.
And she cried out to the Lord. And the Lord answered that prayer, by the way.
Yes, he did.
And she did hard things after that. So part of counterculture is the Lord wants to answer your prayer. We need to cry out to him. And he will answer.
And I make my correction. It was Eli who judged her, not Samuel. Samuel was her son. I misspoke.
I just thought you were talking about her son. So
I'm going to go pour out my soul and ask the Lord to forgive me for my foible.
You probably,
because someone here will bring it up.
That's right. I was going to say you probably.
I'm not going to mention who, but look where I'm looking.
You probably need to ask the Trash Ministries audience to also say hey, watch the whole video before you write down. It was Eli. It was Eli.
I corrected my error. We're good here.
That's right. Hey,
do not judge me.
For Counterculture and Pastor Mark, I'm Andy. We look forward to seeing you next time.